When you hear the name Elon Musk, what comes to mind? Probably electric cars, rockets blasting into space, maybe even AI, right? But what if I told you that these aren't just separate, random companies? What if they're all just pieces of one giant, incredibly ambitious puzzle? Well, today, we're going to connect those dots and figure out the core mission that's driving it all.
And it really all starts with this quote, right from the man himself. And look, this isn't just some fluffy PR line. Musk frames his entire life's work not as building a business empire, but as a genuine mission for the future of our species. This quote, it's our key. It's the lens that helps us understand why everything from colonizing Mars to building humanoid robots actually makes perfect sense.
Okay, so if the big goal is to secure humanity's future, the first logical stop is Mars. But, building a city is one thing. Building a totally self-sustaining civilization, that's a whole other ballgame. And what's at the heart of any civilization? A functioning economy.
It sounds kind of like a joke, right? How do you buy a coffee on Mars? But it actually points to this huge logistical problem. You can't just swipe your credit card or even use something like Bitcoin from Earth. And the reason why comes down to a fundamental law of physics.
Here on Earth, you tap your card and boom, it's done. It feels instant. But between Earth and Mars, not so fast. There's a serious communication lag. Even moving at the speed of light, it just takes time for data to get there and back. That delay makes a system like Bitcoin, which needs super fast network updates, totally useful for buying anything on Mars.
Just think about that for a second. 20 minutes. And that's the minimum delay for a stable connection. Can you imagine standing at a Martian Starbucks for 20 minutes waiting for your payment to clear? No way. This one simple, unchangeable fact leads to a pretty mind-blowing conclusion. Mars is going to need its own currency, its own financial system, probably a cryptocurrency built from the ground up for a new world.
So, Mars is the long game. But what about right now, right here on Earth? Well, Musk's vision for our immediate future is already taking shape all around us. And the engine driving all of it? Yep, it's artificial intelligence.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because his approach to full self-driving isn't just about making a car that can steer itself. It's way more ambitious. First, you have to simulate how a human thinks and acts. Then you build this incredibly complex digital brain, a neural network, to process the world. And finally, you give this system superhuman senses. We're talking 360-degree vision, way beyond what our own eyes can do. They're not just taking a car to drive, they're literally building an artificial brain.
And he's the first one to tell you this is not a one-man show. He gives all the credit to his team of the world's smartest people. You've got absolute geniuses like Andrej Karpathy and Ashok Ellaswamy, the guys who are actually leading the charge and turning these wild ideas into reality.
So, all this crazy advanced AI they're building for the cars, turns out it's for something much bigger. Meet the Tesla bot, codenamed Optimus Prime. And no, its first job isn't going to be making you breakfast. It's designed to take over the jobs that are dangerous, super repetitive, or just plain boring for people to do, especially in places you can't even have people, like, say, building the first city on Mars.
And this right here is the quote that makes it all click. Musk himself calls a Tesla a robot on four wheels. It's the same core AI, the same kind of neural network that can navigate a chaotic city street that will be the foundation for a robot that can walk, carry things, and actually get stuff done in the real world.
So let's think about this. You've got self-driving cars, humanoid robots, rockets flying to other planets. All of that needs a ridiculous amount of power. So for Musk, that energy has to be abundant and sustainable. And that means we have to face one of our biggest collective fears head-on.
And here's the thing. According to Musk, we are completely afraid of the wrong thing. I mean, just look at this data. It's honestly shocking when you see it laid out like this. If you measure the number of deaths for every terawatt-hour of energy we produce, coal is just insanely deadlier than nuclear. And yet, he says, we panic and shut down clean nuclear plants while letting the deadly coal plants keep running. It's completely irrational.
So why are we so scared of it? Well, he argues it's because most of us just don't get the physics, and his analogy is brilliant. The sun. It's just a giant nuclear fusion reactor hanging out in the sky, and we live with it every single day. His point is that safe, modern nuclear fission plants here on Earth are an incredibly clean and manageable source of energy.
Okay, so we've talked about the huge, world-changing stuff. Mars, AI, energy. But what about us? How does any of this grand vision apply to us as individuals? Well, it turns out Musk also has a kind of philosophy, a blueprint for how any of us can chip in and help build a better future. His advice is actually pretty simple.
First, he says, you gotta read everything. Build a really wide base of general knowledge. Then get out there and talk to people, especially people in totally different fields from you. That's how you start connecting the dots and find that sweet spot, the place where what you're good at meets what you absolutely love to do. But the main goal, the big one, is this. Make sure you contribute more to the world than you take from it.
And that whole idea really boils down to one thing: avoiding what's called a zero-sum mindset. That's the flawed belief that for me to win, you have to lose. He uses this great pie analogy. Instead of fighting over one tiny slice of the pie, why not just focus on baking a bigger pie? When we create new things, new value, new services, the whole pie gets bigger and there's more for everyone. And that brings us to this final thought, which might be the most important one of all. For Musk, it's not really about having all the answers. It's about the relentless hunt for the right questions. What are the fundamental problems we need to solve? Because, as he sees it, if you can frame the question perfectly, the answer is already halfway there. And that is what really drives human progress forward.